My name is Leili Fatehi, and I represent Friends of the Mississippi River. First, I'd like to thank the committee for not including the repeal of the Legislative Water Commission in this bill. But we are very disappointed to see the inclusion of the Minnesota Chamber's rulemaking provisions from the House version included in Article 4. These are the most profound and far-reaching changes to administrative procedure and law that we've seen probably in decades, which makes it especially concerning that they were only introduced and heard in one chamber of the legislature, that they were never given a hearing before a judiciary committee, and they were never assigned any fiscal notice, despite the fact that they necessarily and explicitly will impose considerable cost on all state agencies. These provisions impose massive, time-consuming, expensive, and totally unnecessary hurdles that all agency must go through, not only to adopt a rule, but even to propose a rule, and then makes it so that even after going through all of those hurdles, a rule still has to be enacted by law. So the bill makes it so that a single legislative committee can block an agency not just from adopting but even from proposing a rule. It creates a mechanism for virtually any proposed rule to undergo a 5-person peer review panel that has to determine the scientific, technical, and economic basis for the rule, but for which there are no requirements for expertise. It provides that a proposed rule, even after it goes through that, can't even take effect until after it's been enacted by the legislature. It gives regulated entities an affirmative defense to comply with any regulation that costs more than $50,000. Oh, and it makes it also so that the agency has to pay for all of this out of its operating budget, and then also creates a legal presumption against an agency whenever it doesn't go through this process. Not once has anyone testified as to any justification for any of these provisions. Not once has anyone testified, let alone demonstrated, as to how any of these provisions actually save money or speed up regulatory decisions. And I think that that's for good reason, because it would be impossible to do so. In fact, I'd go one step further and say that the effect, intended or unintended, of these provisions is to legally, operationally, and especially financially overwhelm agencies so that they can't carry out their regulatory mandates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fatehi.